Welcome to the Coach Johnny Mac Show. It's a real special show here tonight. We're brought to you by Don Cherry Sports Grill and Bjorn Sports of Scandinavia. We have NHL legend here. The big part of my childhood growing up watching him play. Barry Beck, former New York Ranger, Colorado Rocky, and LA King at the end of your career. Welcome, Barry. Thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, you know what? We've talked about doing this for a while, and I'm glad the time's lined up. For our listeners and viewers that don't know, Barry currently lives in Hong Kong and has for quite some time. We're going to get into that a little bit, what you're doing there in part two. But I want to dive right into your career, Barry. Growing up, where in BC did you grow up? It says Vancouver on Hockey DB, but were you right in Vancouver, or were you in the interior?
Yeah, no, I grew up right in Vancouver, in East Vancouver, 1 block away from Pacific Coliseum. And, of course, I grew up a Toronto Maple Leaf fan. Of course, the only games we got on TV were either the Leafs or Canadians on Saturday night, hockey night in Canada. So you're either a Leafs fan or a Canadians fan. So I think most people out west were Leaf fans. But yeah, I grew up 1 block away from the Coliseum and played out of another building called the Vancouver Forum, and that's where I played all my minor hockey.
Oh wow! And so what was going on? Obviously, the Canucks didn't come in until how old would you have been when the Canucks came into the league?
I think they came in 70.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have been around 13.
Yeah, so you were just starting to maybe think about playing some junior hockey at that point, for sure. So what was it like playing minor hockey in Vancouver in that time?
Yeah, well, it was just a great place to grow up. Beside the Pacific Coliseum, is on the same grounds, the P&E grounds, which is abbreviated for Pacific National Exhibition, like the CNE is in Toronto, the Canadian National Exhibition. So it's exhibition grounds, and they had the racetrack there, the horse racetrack, and they also had Empire Stadium where the BC Lions played out of. And so it was a great area to grow up in, a lot of sports. And I really enjoyed playing there in my minor hockey and have a lot of close friends and still do. After Bantam, I think that's, looking at that shot there, I think that's in Pee Wee, my second year of Pee Wee. I remember my first year of Pee Wee, I was playing on the third line, and thought I better change my position to defense. I wasn't doing too well as a forward, but back on defense, I found a little bit of a groove. And of course, Bobby Orr was the big defenseman that everybody admired, and he was an idol of mine. And trying to play like Bobby Orr, which a lot of kids tried to do, isn't so easy. But I tried to add that element to my game to be an overall good defenseman, and playing other sports really helped me out. I recommend that to kids, to not just isolate on one sport, to play as many different sports as you can, and have fun while you're playing, and don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. Just have fun and see how you progress that way.
Oh, great advice for sure. So how old were you when you first played junior? So I have here you played actually a couple of games. So Langley had a junior team.
Yeah.
Was that, what league was that?
Well, before Langley, when I came out of Bantam, I played junior B for the Vancouver Junior Canucks, and they were coached by Ron Matthews. Ron Matthews played for the Vancouver Canucks, and he was, I think, instrumental in helping develop my game, especially the defensive side of my game. He was more of a defensive defenseman, so I tried to concentrate on that, and of course add that to my game. I think playing football and playing linebacker in football, I had a pretty good read on angles. And that was important on my defensive game, because you got to know the rink and the playing surface you're on, whether it's a field, whether you're playing box lacrosse, or you're at the hockey rink. You got to learn about angles, and you can't just chase the puck around. You got to go to where the puck is going to be and not where it's already been. So Ron Matthews really helped me out. Of course, my Pee Wee coach, Randy Shantz, he went on to become an NHL linesman. So he was also very helpful in me growing up. From junior B, I went to Langley, and they were in the BC Hockey League. My rights were owned by the Kamloops Chiefs.
Okay.
And Langley was the farm team for Kamloops, where Bellingham was the farm team for the New Westminster Bruins. So in Langley, I played against a lot of Bellingham Blazers that went on to play for the New Westminster Bruins, and I became teammates with. And that was the first time I was ever traded, was when I was 16. And my parents had written a letter to the commissioner, Ed Chenault, of the Western Canada Hockey League, saying that they wanted me to be closer to home. I think this was a bit of a ploy between Ernie McLean and my parents and the league commissioner to try and make a deal for me. And so after writing the letter, a deal was made, and I was traded for 5 players, and I ended up playing in New Westminster.
Yeah, wow, and that's a storied franchise. A lot of guys went through there. I just looking at your, looking through some of the teammates, and I made a couple notes here. Stan Smeal was there, and then you played with him again in Colorado. We'll talk about that later, but I never knew Stan Smeal played for the Colorado Rockies until I saw that. I thought he was a Vancouver Canuck, and he was there forever, right?
Yeah, Stan only played in Vancouver.
Yeah, I thought he played in Colorado. No,
Stan did not play in Colorado. No.
Oh, I must have misread it. I thought I saw him in, maybe it was, did he play in the minors at all, or he went right to the Canucks?
No, he went right to the Canucks.
Wow. Well, I must have missed it.
Played
No, the Barry Smith that was in New Westminster, was that the Barry Smith that was Scotty Bowman's assistant for forever?
No, that's a different Barry Smith.
Is it? Okay, I wondered that. And then the third guy, and tell me what you remember about him, because he was here. He came here in the American Hockey League with the Nova Scotia Voyageurs, which was Montreal's #1 farm team back when I was growing up, and he actually worked for my family's hockey school when I was a kid. Dave Orlesky. Remember Dave?
Yeah, who is that?
Dave Orlesky. Big Dave Orlesky.
Oh, Orlesky.
Yeah, Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. He played for the Bruins. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I couldn't quite hear you there, but yeah. Dave. I think Dave played on our Memorial Cup team.
Did he? Yeah. Well, he ended up here. He ended up staying here. He had a garage after he retired. He stayed in Halifax, and there was Orlesky Shell was a garage, and he became a mechanic after his career, and he was here for. He might still be here. I was away for about 30 years, and I'm back now. But he was here long after his playing days were over. So how tough was the Western League back then? And the Western League's always been tough. It's tough now compared to the other two, in my opinion. But how tough was it back then?
Well, I mean that was the time in the mid '70s when, of course, the Flyers were winning their back-to-back Stanley Cups, and they had tough teams, and they played a lot through intimidation, but they also had great players, and so that combination seemed to be working at that time, and that's what Ernie McLean tried to do with the New Westminster Bruins. The great thing about Ernie was he could get the most out of each player, and we had a lot of players that came to us through trades that weren't really blossoming with their own teams, but in our atmosphere they were, and we took care of each other on the ice and off the ice. And that was one thing we made a point of telling each other, is that none of our players ever get hurt. We always take care of business, whatever we have to do, and we make sure the other team knows that. But we also had great players, but we were really a team. And when we came into town, it was mostly all by bus. We traveled across the 4 provinces out to Manitoba, and yeah, we had a lot of fun on our bus trips. It wasn't much of a bus. I think we had more frost on the inside of the windows than the outside
Yeah.
of the window. Yeah.
Well, when you're getting into Saskatoon and Regina in the middle of January, it's not pleasant.
Yeah. Well, Flin Flon was always the trip that we sort of dreaded.
Yeah.
It was 50 below zero.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, and that, yeah, and you know, just the toughness, the way the game has changed to now, but I see it kind of going back a little bit. Um, they try to completely clean it up, and then they realize they're making a mistake, and then you see teams like Tampa, who, you know, had good size, and you know, Vegas this year was a big, heavy hockey team, right? So you still have to have that you know, toughness, team toughness. I'm not talking about, you know, 15 guys that'll go out and drop the gloves, but guys that'll, you know, pay the price, right? And certainly battle. You know, that'll never go away, and they can change all the rules all they want. The team that has you know, the most brevity or you know, guys that'll, you know, step in front of a shot, they're always going to win, aren't they, Barry? Like, is it ever going to be just a skill game? I don't think so. I
don't think so either. It's just too tough to make it through four rounds that you have to get to the finals.
Yeah,
and there it has to be that commitment as far as the players go. You have to disregard your health, and you got to throw yourself in front of shots, and you got to do whatever it takes to win. Players are bigger and they're faster. You know, technology in the game has progressed. There is still that element of grit that teams need. And that first round of playoffs is tough. You know, if you can come out of that first round of the playoffs and get into a bit of a groove, then you can have a chance to go deep into the playoffs. I think if you look at the teams that have success, especially with Florida and Vegas had four lines, very well balanced, big defense, gritty team. And I thought they deserved to win. With Florida, it just took a lot out of them to get to the finals. I mean, they had a hard road. I think they had some injuries by the time the finals came around against Vegas.
Oh yeah,
but they tried to play through that, but Vegas was just too strong.
Yeah, you run out of gas when you start to lose your horses and stuff, and you know, I think that it was great. Good for hockey, you know. A new team wins, and you know, it's built a market there. I hope they figure out what to do with Phoenix. It's almost been an embarrassment for too long. There's a lot of good hockey markets out there that could you know, support that team. Quebec, for example, you know, you would have played in Quebec City, and they're pretty passionate. You know, it's interesting. I talked to Gilbert Dion, so Marcel's brother. I had him on my show here last month, and I asked him, and he's from Drummondville, right? So, you know, the Quebec guy. And I said, you know, should the Nordiques get a team back? Should Quebec City? And he said he doesn't believe they can support it at the price of tickets what there is now. Right? He said, like, it'd be great. They you know, if tickets were affordable, they'd be able to go. They'd fill it every night, but they're just not anymore, right? You know, it's, you know, $150, $200 for a nosebleed. Like, how many people can afford to take their kid to that game? You know, it's a different animal. So you got to look at it like that, and you know, and it's all about TV money in the U.S. too, right? So draft, you get. And
this is mentioned Arizona. When you mention Arizona, it makes me think a lot of. Yeah, well, it makes me think of a lot when I was in Colorado.
Right.
You know, and I heard at the beginning of your program, one of your sponsors is Don Cherry's Sports Grill.
Yeah.
And I played for Don in Colorado. I really looked forward forward to him when he came to Colorado, and I hoped that I would have had a chance for him longer. But there was just so much controversy around the team that they were trying to move the team to New Jersey, which they eventually did. And that weighs on you a lot as a player. So I feel for those players in Arizona because it's one thing for young players that they really want that stability when they come in. It's over. I think they need a new building, and if that is to happen, it will progress.
Yeah, that's a real good point. I never thought about it that way. That Colorado got moved, right? And now look at that franchise. That's one of the most stable, thriving franchises in the National Hockey League, the Avalanche, right? So maybe Phoenix can make it. Let's hope. Let's hope. So your draft year. This is quite interesting. So you're in the WHA draft and you're in the NHL draft. So you're able to be drafted into both leagues that year. And you went number 2 overall in both drafts, right? You had a guy by the name of Dale McCord, had a pretty good career, went ahead of you in the National Hockey League draft. And then Scott Campbell, who I'd never heard of, went ahead of you in the WHA draft. Tell me, what do you remember about Scott Campbell?
Well, I mean, a draft year, Dale McCourt he played for Hamilton. I played against him in the Memorial Cup in Montreal, where we ended up playing against Hamilton in the finals, and they beat us in the finals. They had Willie Huber and Secor, Joe Contini, who eventually went to Colorado also, and so they had a pretty strong team. And Dale, I think he was pretty well regarded as the best junior at that time. I had been contacted by Montreal and to see if I wanted to play in Montreal because they were used to always trading up in the draft. I know they had made a deal with Colorado before. I know they made a deal with Los Angeles. So whoever always had that first pick, Montreal was always trying to get it.
Yeah.
So I had, that waited with your family, and hopefully nobody else called. So the phone wasn't busy.
Yeah.
But Montreal contacted me, and I said that I wanted to try to play market where I could come in, step in and play regularly. However minutes I was going to get, I knew that I had to earn them at training camp. That it wasn't just going to be given to me. So that was a challenge. I wanted to help build a franchise, and that was what was going to happen in Colorado. Now, we mentioned that Quebec did come to Colorado. I mean, Quebec already had a great team in place.
Yeah.
And, that first year that they moved to Colorado, they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. So that, of course, helped them really develop that market and become a hockey hotbed. It was before with Denver University.
Yeah.
Which was and it is a great university, a great place for young men to play. But Quebec moving and having that great team in place already really did a lot for that franchise.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and it's funny. So we're going to talk about that, a little bit more about your time in Denver. You mentioned the guy that I have on my list here, Joe Contini. So Joe, I met Joe long after his career.
Can you hear me?
I was running hockey camps in Guelph, Ontario. Joe, did you get me? Do we have a little break? So Joe Contini, Guelph, Ontario. I ended up doing so. My dad and I both worked with his daughter, Molly, who ended up going to Cornell or Colgate or one of the Ivy League schools. She was a real nice hockey player. She had Joe's hands, and Joe always.
I can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me good? Yeah. So Joe had unbelievable hands, but he told me he couldn't skate, Contini. Do you remember that about him?
Well, yeah, he was a bit of a chopper. I mean, he wasn't really a fluid skater. He was just a hard worker, and that's what got him.
He had some hands on him.
Yeah, no, he was good around the net. And,
oh yeah, for sure.
And that's why he made it as far.
Now he last night, and it's probably been 10 years since I've seen Joe, but he and his brother Mario run a dry cleaner and post office in Guelph, Ontario. Real good guys. They were always a pleasure to deal with. We did a lot of mail outs from the post office. So awesome. So Don Cherry playing for him. He had already been to Boston at that point and been done, and now he's kind of ended his career in Colorado, correct? I think you're frozen. You hear me? You there, Barry? Technical difficulties right now. Let's have a word from our sponsor. Have a little ad to play here. Real big shout out to our sponsor, Don Cherry's Sports Grill. Don Cherry's is obviously a synonymous brand with excellence in hockey and great food. Visit one of the Don Cherry's that's out there and do yourself a favor. They're also in big time expansion mode right now, looking for new licensees across the country, looking for existing facilities, existing restaurants that are looking for a new fresh look. Hit them up at doncherrysportsgrill.com and check it out. Thanks again for all your support. You're back, Barry. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Good.
Hello?
Hey, there you are.
I hear you.
Good. Now we're good. Now I played an ad there while you were on the brink there for a sec. So tell me how you moved from Colorado to New York.
Well, at that time, I was I didn't want to go to New Jersey, and that was the talk.
Yeah.
And I was negotiating my contract. I wasn't doing it personally. I went in to see Ray Miron. I might be traded because I had said that I didn't want to go to New Jersey. So I just wanted to confirm that with Ray, and Ray had told me that I was the franchise player. They weren't going to trade me. They're trying to build the franchise around me. So I thought I should be paid like the franchise player. Now, when I first came into the league, I'm consider myself to be a humble guy. I mean, I know that players at that time, we have to make or had to make money while we could. And that was an opportunity for me. So I needed to try and be firm on it. So, and that, Don Cherry was our coach at that time. And I really wanted to play a lot for Don. I knew that he had success in Boston. He was a player's coach, as long as you were on his good side. So I think that it was a pretty big shock for me when I got traded. And it took me some time. The Rangers were in Colorado. We were about to play them when the trade was made. So I just went from one dressing room to the next dressing room and played that game for the Rangers against Colorado. That was a tough game to play. And I think Colorado won that game. I think it was 7-2 that they won the game. So it took me time to really find out, because there was no pressure on me in Colorado. Right. I just went out and played. I was playing 40 minutes a game. I was playing power play, killing penalties, and I really got to develop my game. I scored 22 goals my first year, and people thought, well, I couldn't score any goals. Well, in my second year of junior, I scored 19 goals. I had 99 points, the same as Brad Maxwell. We had, Brad Maxwell and I both had 99 points. I think there was one game to go in the season. I think that was in 76. And so we made a little bet to see who could get to the 100 points first. And then we had a brawl in that game. We both got thrown out of the game, and none of us got to 100 points. So it was pretty funny. And he also became a really highly regarded defenseman. I know everybody talks mostly about Mike Bossy in my draft year, because I think he was drafted number 16 overall by the Islanders, and everybody knows the kind of career that Boss had. But Brad Maxwell, I wish I would have had a chance to play with Brad in pro. Unfortunately, that never happened. But yeah, we were a pretty formidable tandem playing for New Westminster.
Yeah, so a defenseman that'll get 22 goals in the NHL right now is a $10 million defenseman, right? A defenseman that'll get 22. So who are they?
Well, it wasn't $10 million then.
Adam Fox, Cale Makar, Carlson in San Jose. Those are the cream of the crop, right?
Well, Dougie Hamilton also from the Devils.
Yeah. There's another one.
I saw somebody had sent me a link that somebody had sent me the link because I scored 22 goals, and they consider the Colorado Rockies to be part of the New Jersey Devils as far as their history goes. So yeah, that was the most goals by a New Jersey defenseman, Dougie Hamilton and myself at 22 goals.
And New Jersey had some pretty good defensemen there in the 90s.
But I was a rookie. And
yeah, crazy. Yeah, well, that's amazing. So New York's got. I mean, you go from Denver, where probably you weren't getting the crowds. Denver's a pretty cool town.
Welcome.
Denver's a pretty cool town, but then you go to Madison Square Garden, right? Like now your home is the most famous arena in the world. And I've seen some of the clips, and there's a lot of opportunities for the Rangers at that time to really get involved in whether it's modeling or acting or all kinds of different things. Tell me some stories about away from the rink in New York and what that was like being a Ranger in the late 70s, early 80s. I can't hear you. Can you we on the delay again?
Yeah, well, Sonny Werblin, who ran the Rangers and the Knicks, and he was very famous because he was Joe Namath. Uh, Joe Namath's agent.
Okay.
So he really wanted the Rangers to be, at the forefront and
Yep.
involved in other things than just hockey. He was a big promoter, as you can see. Well, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm getting you now. Yep.
Yeah, am I frozen or?
No, you're good again. You're good again. You were saying he was a promoter and he wanted the Rangers in the forefront. And then I kind of lost.
Hear me, John?
Yep, I can hear you. Yep.
Yeah, the same thing is happening.
Yeah, that's the same thing that you said was happening with Tom, eh? Why don't we try to jump on a Zoom and see if I can figure out how to record it?